You ever scroll through your phone, half asleep, just trying to kill a few minutes before the day officially begins, only to have reality punch you square in the face? That was me. It was a cold Thursday morning, gray skies, coffee half brewed, and I was waiting for the toaster to pop. And then there it was. A picture. A picture that would burn itself into the back of my skull like a branding iron. Amanda, my ex-wife, smiling in a silk dress that looked like it came straight from a desperate designer's dumpster, clinging to the arm of some guy I'd never seen before. Caption: 3 months of heaven. My incredible new husband. I finally won the jackpot. Ring dizzy hashtag blessed hashtag real love hashtag finally happy. Jackpot. I stared at it for a full minute before I realized my toast was on fire. My ex-wife, Amanda, who once mocked me for not taking her to Paris on our anniversary, who cried when I bought her a Lexus instead of a Tesla, was now parading around on Instagram like she was starring in her own twisted reality show. But it wasn't the post itself that broke me. It was the comments. Her friends gushing. You deserve this queen nail polish. He's such an upgrade. Finally, someone on your level. As if I'd been some kind of warm-up act before the real show began. What made it hilarious, though? The man in the photos. I zoomed in. I couldn't help it. He had this smile that didn't quite fit on his face, like he practiced in the mirror and still couldn't get it right. He was trying way too hard. His suit? Ill-fitted. Hair? Styled like someone described cool to him in vague terms. I laughed. Not just a chuckle. This weird, broken laugh I hadn't heard from myself in months. The kind of laugh that tastes like bitterness with a sprinkle of relief. Because in that moment, I realized something. Amanda didn't upgrade. She downgraded with flair. But I wasn't laughing because she looked ridiculous. I was laughing because I remembered exactly when the mask started to slip. It had been 8 months earlier, just before our marriage imploded. And that's where the Real story begins. It started with a pair of wine glasses. Amanda wasn't much of a drinker. She always told me she only liked red wine on special occasions. So imagine my confusion when I came home from a late meeting and found 2 empty glasses on the counter. Not dirty. Washed. Dried. Tucked carefully in the rack. Like she had all the time in the world to clean up whatever was going on before I walked through the door. Except she forgot one thing. The cork. It was in the trash. From a bottle I'd bought last Christmas. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe her friend Madison came over. They used to drink together sometimes. But then I saw her phone light up. I don't usually check her phone. I wasn't that guy. But that night, something in my gut told me to look. And when instinct screams, you'd better listen. I didn't need to go far. A notification. From someone named Nathan. Just a heart emoji. Nothing else. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't send random hearts to people I work with. Or old classmates. Or distant cousins. And Amanda sure as hell never talked about a Nathan. I didn't open the message. I didn't need to. I just stared at that little red heart until it started to blur. That night, I couldn't sleep. Amanda came to bed late, claiming she was watching a documentary in the living room. She smelled like vanilla lotion and mint, a combination she usually reserved for date nights. But we hadn't had one of those in weeks. I turned my back to her in bed. That was the first time I did that in our 6 years of marriage. The beginning of the end wasn't some explosion. It was that quiet moment, that silent distance, that invisible wedge that slid between us and grew sharper by the day. I didn't confront her then. I wanted to be sure. I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. But that was my first mistake. Because Amanda, she wasn't the type to leave breadcrumbs. She left a trail of glitter and fire. And I was about to follow it straight into hell. After that night with the wine glasses and the heart emoji from Nathan, I began noticing the shift. It wasn't just the usual coldness in her voice or the way she started avoiding eye contact. No, Amanda was changing fast. And not in a way that looked like growth or healing or enlightenment. This was the type of transformation that reeked of secrets. Secrets dressed in cologne I didn't recognize. I didn't want to be that guy. The paranoid husband rifling through drawers or sniffing shirts. But something inside me cracked open, and curiosity bled into obsession. I started keeping mental tabs on everything. Her new gym routine that suddenly lasted 2 hours. Her phone, now glued to her hand like it was oxygen. Her laugh, this fake, forced thing she used when texting someone and trying to seem cuter than she was. I knew what was happening. I just hadn't caught her yet. Then came the night I finally did. It was a Saturday. Amanda said she was heading to a girls-only spa evening. Normally, I wouldn't have blinked. But that morning, I overheard her whispering in the hallway. Not the words, just the tone. That high-pitched, flirty voice she used when she was trying to trap someone. I remember thinking, Amanda doesn't giggle on the phone. She manipulates. But she doesn't giggle. She left wearing heels that made no sense for a spa, and lipstick that practically screamed, "Look at me." I waited 10 minutes. Then I followed. I had never done anything like that in my life. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel the whole time, heart pounding like I was the one cheating. I kept telling myself I might be wrong, that I'd feel like a fool, that this was just the damage of distrust turning me into someone I wasn't. But I wasn't wrong. She didn't go to a spa. She went to a restaurant downtown. Classy, dim lights, valet parking. She stepped out of the car and tossed her hair like she was in a movie. And then he showed up. Nathan. He looked like a knockoff version of a daytime soap actor. Slick hair, overconfident walk, a blazer that screamed. I watched a YouTube video on fashion. I watched him kiss her cheek, too long. I watched her touch his arm, too familiar. I watched them go inside. I didn't go in. I didn't scream. I didn't cause a scene. I sat there, parked across the street, and tried to convince myself that this wasn't real. That maybe this was all some misunderstanding, that maybe I could walk away and pretend I never saw it. But I couldn't unsee it. And I definitely couldn't unfeel it. She came home late that night. Said the spa ran long, and she had a deep tissue massage. I almost laughed. She smelled like his cologne. I knew because I'd rolled the window down and caught a breeze when they walked past my car. I didn't say anything. Not that night. Instead, I began to plan. I started collecting the evidence. Receipts from her purse. Screenshots from the cloud she forgot to log out of. A photo or two I took from a distance. I wasn't trying to trap her. I was trying to wake myself up. I needed to see it from every angle. To burn the illusion of our marriage to ash so I wouldn't keep clinging to the smoke. And then, a week later, Amanda gave me the final blow. We were sitting in the living room. She had this smug look on her face, like she knew something I didn't. She casually dropped her phone on the table, facing up. A new message flashed across the screen. Nathan, last night was unreal. Same time Thursday. Face-blowing kiss. She looked at me. Didn't even flinch. I locked eyes with her and said, "You left it visible on purpose." She smiled. Not guilty. Not sorry. Smug. "I just wanted to see what you'd do," she said. I was curious. That was Amanda. Not a woman caught. Not a woman ashamed. But a woman testing limits. And I had finally reached mine that I remember exactly how the room felt when she said it. "I just wanted to see what you'd do." It wasn't just the words, it was her tone. Like I was some lab rat she was studying. I don't think I even blinked for a solid 10 seconds. The old me would have shouted, demanded answers, maybe even cried. But all I did was stare, as the pieces of the woman I once married crumbled in front of me. "Amanda," I said slowly, "how long?" She tilted her head like a cat sizing up a wounded mouse. "What does it matter now?" "It matters because I deserve to know what kind of lie I've been living in." She shrugged, almost bored. "Couple of months. Maybe longer. Depends on how you define started. You were already checked out, so don't pretend like you were some doting husband." That hit hard. Not because it was true, but because it was the oldest play in the book. The deflection tactic. Blame shift. Manipulate. Twist. I didn't check out, Amanda. I just stopped begging for attention from someone who couldn't even look up from her phone long enough to fake love. That got a smirk out of her. "There it is," she whispered. That righteous tone. "You always did love the moral high ground." "You cheated on me," I snapped. "You brought him into our life. You were sleeping beside me every night while sneaking around with a man who sends kiss emojis like a teenager." That's when she rolled her eyes, actually rolled them. "You make it sound so dramatic. You think you were the perfect husband? You were boring, Dylan. Predictable. I needed someone who made me feel alive again." That was it. The moment I knew she wasn't sorry. Not even close. Amanda didn't just cheat on me. She wanted me to know. She needed me to feel small, like this was my failure, not hers. Like she was doing me a favor by finding someone better. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and poured myself a drink. I don't even like whiskey, but I needed something that burned. "You want to feel alive?" I said from across the counter. "You'll feel real alive when this whole thing implodes on you." "Oh, stop acting like I'm going to regret it," she snapped, standing to now. "Nathan is everything you're not. He listens. He touches me like he wants me. He's ambitious. I turned, looking her dead in the eyes. He wears clip-on ties. That shut her up for a second. I took a breath. You want out? You got it. But don't think for a second you'll waltz off into some fairy tale. You just traded a man who built you a life for a clown who's going to spend more time trying to impress your Instagram followers than protect your future. Oh, please, she scoffed. You're just bitter. No, I replied calmly. I'm awake. I walked out of the kitchen and headed straight to the bedroom. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I just opened my laptop, logged into our shared accounts, and began the process of separating our lives. That night, she slept in the guest room. Or maybe she didn't sleep at all. I didn't care. Because while Amanda was posting filtered photos and fake captions, I was building a case. She had no idea what was coming. I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was focused. The heartbreak had burned out and left behind something sharper, clarity. Amanda thought I'd fall apart. She thought I'd beg, that I'd crumble and text her paragraphs asking why, how, when. But I didn't. I gave her silence, and silence, when delivered right, is far louder than any scream. That Monday morning, while Amanda still played house like nothing had happened, I drove to the bank. Joint accounts? Closed. Access? Restricted. The savings account I had quietly built without telling her, intended for our retirement, secured under my name alone. She never cared about the numbers, only the lifestyle. She never noticed what kept the engine running. And that was my edge. Back home, I started clearing my digital footprint, changed passwords, revoked shared logins, locked down every account I had access to. I even unlinked the Spotify account. I wanted her to feel every step of separation, even in silence. She noticed the money first. That evening, she stormed into the living room, holding her phone like it had personally insulted her. What the hell did you do? I barely looked up. I moved my money. You can't just. I can. And I did. You're being immature. No, I'm being surgical. Her mouth opened, then shut. She had expected chaos, expected the usual emotional breakdown. Instead, she was getting the version of me she'd never seen before, calm, calculating, and done playing nice. The next step? My lawyer. I'd already scheduled the meeting before she even found the message from her credit card company. His name was Mark Reynolds, divorce specialist, no nonsense. He'd been recommended by a colleague who once walked away from a cheating wife with everything except her shoes. Mark looked through the files I'd gathered, screenshots, receipts, messages, even a short video of Nathan picking Amanda up from around the block in his dented silver Camry. That detail made Mark chuckle. This guy, he asked. Yep. He leaned back. She's gonna regret this. I know. We filed quietly. Amanda would be served soon, and I didn't want to be there when it happened. I wanted it to land when she least expected it, somewhere mundane. Somewhere that reminded her that the world still moved, even while hers collapsed. Turns out, that moment came during her weekly lunch with Madison. I got a text from Madison 2 hours later. I don't know what you did, but Amanda just flipped out in the middle of Olive Garden. She's screaming. Also this Nathan guy. Yikes. The pieces were falling exactly where I wanted them to. Meanwhile, Amanda doubled down on social media. Posts of her and Nathan at cheap rooftop dinners. Captions like, sometimes the second try is the charm, red heart, or finally being seen and loved for who I am, dizzy. It was like watching someone try to sell a product nobody wanted. Her likes dropped. Comments became fewer. Even her friends stopped reposting her stories. And then she went viral. Just not the way she wanted. It started when someone from our town, who knew the real story, left a comment under one of her posts. Didn't you cheat on your husband with that guy who works at a used car lot? The internet did its thing. Screenshots, memes. Her perfect fairy tale cracked in public, and Amanda began blocking people faster than she could delete their words. And then came the final blow. I ran into Nathan at a gas station. He was alone, standing next to that same silver Camry. He recognized me instantly, his face stiffening. I walked past, nodded politely, and kept going. But I couldn't help myself. I turned back. Hey, I called. She say anything to you about that trip to Cabo I paid for while you were texting her hearts? He froze. I smirked. No worries. Enjoy the highlight reel, man. It gets real boring after the filters fade. He didn't respond. As I drove away, I laughed so hard I had to pull over. Amanda had chosen chaos over commitment. And I had chosen peace over pretending that it was about 2 weeks after Amanda got served that things really started to unravel. For her, at least. Me? I was sleeping better, breathing easier. I had energy again. It's wild how much weight a lie can carry when it lives inside your home. But Amanda, she wasn't doing so well. The woman who used to post 3 filtered selfies a day suddenly went quiet. No more rooftop dinners, no more cryptic quotes about healing and growth. It was like someone pulled the plug on her little fantasy world. And I had front row seats to the collapse. I knew the moment the world stopped applauding her. One of our mutual friends, Kate, messaged me out of nowhere. Kate, she's been texting people like crazy, telling everyone you sabotaged her life, that you've always been manipulative. Honestly, it's sad. She looks like she's spiraling. I didn't reply. I didn't need to, because I already knew. Amanda was the type of woman who needed an audience. She didn't thrive in intimacy. She thrived in attention. And when the applause died, so did her sense of worth. A few days later, I found out she tried to get Nathan to move in. Yeah, after less than 4 months of dating and barely 3 weeks of freedom, she asked him to split rent in the apartment she couldn't afford without me. He declined. Turns out, Prince Charming didn't want to fund her designer candle obsession or the overpriced furniture she ordered for Instagram photos. Nathan liked the fun version of Amanda, the party girl, the flirty texts, the forbidden thrill. He didn't sign up to be her full-time sponsor. When she posted a quote about letting go of the ones who can't handle your light, I almost choked on my coffee. Still, I hadn't said a word publicly. No revenge posts. No long rants. I just lived. And apparently, that's what pissed her off the most. Because then she showed up at my door. It was a Sunday. I was watching the game, drinking a beer, genuinely relaxed for the first time in months. And then the doorbell rang. I opened it without checking. There she was. Amanda, in a black turtleneck and oversized sunglasses like she thought she was walking out of a tabloid scandal. She looked tired. Not physically. Spiritually. You're a real piece of work, Dylan, she said before I could even speak. I didn't flinch. Good to see you too. You think you're winning? Because you're quiet and smug and acting like you're above all this. I sipped my beer. No, I know I'm winning because I'm done. She pushed past me, walked into my house like she still had keys to my sanity. Do you know what you've done to me? She hissed. People talk. I can't go anywhere without someone whispering. I laughed. Not to be cruel. Just because it was so typical. Amanda, you did that to yourself. I didn't post your texts. I didn't expose your lies. You fed the beast, and now it's biting back. You embarrassed me, she snapped. No, I corrected. You embarrassed yourself. I just stopped cleaning up your messes. She stood there, hands shaking, mascara smudged from either tears or another failed attempt at making her reality look glamorous. I loved you, she whispered. No, I said quietly. You loved what I gave you. And when I stopped giving, you went looking for someone else to fill the gap. Amanda didn't respond. She just looked at me, like she was seeing a version of me she couldn't recognize anymore. The man who used to wait on her, accommodate her, walk on eggshells, gone. She left without another word. And as I closed the door behind her, I realized something. She wasn't angry because I hurt her. She was angry because I didn't chase her, that Amanda's unannounced visit didn't end with slamming doors or broken plates. No final declarations of love. No dramatic pleas. She just walked out, heels clicking down the steps like she was still on stage, still hoping for applause. But this wasn't a show anymore. This was the aftermath. And Amanda was about to learn what it felt like to star in a drama that no one wanted tickets to. The next morning, I got a call from my lawyer. Apparently, Amanda was trying to renegotiate the terms of the divorce. She wanted more. A lot more. She claimed emotional distress, cited loss of lifestyle, and even tried to argue that Nathan's income shouldn't affect her right to spousal support because they weren't serious. I laughed so hard I had to mute the call. Mark, my lawyer, sounded irritated but amused. She's flailing, he said. This isn't about money. It's about control. She's trying to get a reaction. She won't get it from me, I told him. And she didn't. I ignored her texts. I ignored the late-night emails. I even ignored the new Instagram post she put up just days later. One where she stood in front of a luxury car that definitely wasn't hers with the caption, "Don't worry about me. I always land on my feet. Kiss mark nail polish." The comments were dry. The likes, half of what she used to pull. No one was buying the act anymore. The audience had left the theater, but she wasn't done. A week later, I was at a friend's backyard barbecue when she showed up again. This time, with Nathan. Let me paint the picture for you. I'm standing by the grill, beer in hand, joking with some college buddies, when I hear her voice behind me. Dylan, you gonna say hi? I turned, slow, calm, and there she was. Amanda, clinging to Nathan's arm like a warning label. He looked uncomfortable already, sweaty, nervous, clearly out of place. The party went silent for a beat. All eyes were on us. I gave a nod. Hi. Nathan tried to smile. Hey man, didn't know you'd be here. I sipped my beer. It's my best friend's house. I helped him build the deck we're standing on. Oh, Nathan mumbled, clearly realizing Amanda had dragged him into enemy territory. Amanda stepped forward, fake smile glued to her face. We were just in the area. Thought we'd drop by, say hello. That's when my friend Kyle, the host, stepped in. Hey Amanda. Nathan, this is a private event. Family and close friends only. The silence that followed was glorious. Amanda's smile wavered. We're just being friendly. Kyle nodded toward the gate. Then be friendly somewhere else. Nathan looked like he wanted to crawl into the ground. Amanda turned to me, fury rising under her makeup. Is this what you wanted? Everyone turning against me. No, I said. You did that all by yourself. They left. But not before Amanda threw one last jab as they reached the sidewalk. Your new piece won't last. You're still the same boring, lifeless man I left. I didn't answer. But I noticed something. Nathan didn't defend her. He didn't even look at her. He just kept walking. That night, I got more texts. From friends. From acquaintances. People who saw the scene unfold and wanted to offer support. Or just say they finally saw Amanda's true colors. I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I sat on my porch, beer in hand, and let the silence wrap around me like armor. Amanda thought the breakup was a parade, and she was the queen marching through town with a crown made of filtered lies. But now, the crowd was gone, and all she had left was noise. The storm finally started turning inward. Amanda stopped being the villain in my story and started becoming the one in her own. It wasn't my doing. I didn't lift a finger. No exposés, no dirty laundry aired. I didn't have to ruin her. She did it herself. It began with her job. She'd always flaunted that marketing position like it made her a CEO. Truth was, she had a decent title, but it was her looks and manipulation that had kept her floating. When the gossips started spreading, about Nathan, about the affair, about the dramatic scene at the barbecue, it didn't take long for whispers to reach her office. Corporate hates scandal, especially when it's public. She got restructured. Translation, pushed out politely with a severance package that barely covered 2 months of rent in the overpriced apartment she thought was her new castle. After that, the silence from her side turned into scattered messages, text bubbles that started with fire, ended in confusion, and reeked of desperation. One came late on a Friday night. Amanda, I hope you're proud of what you've done. I lost everything. Another, 3 days later. Amanda, you probably don't care, but Nathan ghosted me. Then, Amanda, I made mistakes, okay? But don't pretend you were perfect. And finally, Amanda, can we talk? Just once. Each message, more brittle than the last. I didn't respond to any of them. Why would I? This wasn't about punishment. It wasn't even about revenge anymore. It was about closure. Mine, not hers. You see, when Amanda left, she didn't just betray me with another man. She buried a version of me. The man who bent over backward to please someone who only ever clapped for herself. That man died the night I saw Nathan pick her up while I sat across the street, heart in pieces and fists clenched on the steering wheel. Now, I was someone new. I kept building. Quietly. Peacefully. I changed the furniture in the house. Not because I had to, but because it felt like shedding skin. The bed we once shared? Gone. The wine rack she insisted on having but never filled herself? Replaced. Every room she tried to dominate now felt neutral, like it belonged to me again. One night, while cleaning the closet, I found something I didn't expect. A box labeled Memories. Photos of our trips. Movie ticket stubs. A love letter I'd written her on our 2nd anniversary. It was raw, messy handwriting. Sentences full of hope. I sat on the floor and read every word. Then I took it outside and lit it on fire. Not in anger. In acceptance. Amanda was the type of person who fed off illusion. The illusion of power. The illusion of control. The illusion that she could trade in people like they were expired coupons and still walk away untouchable. But she forgot something. Even illusions have limits. Eventually, reality catches up, and hers was sprinting full speed. I heard through the grapevine that she moved in with her sister across town. Apparently, the apartment was gone. Nathan vanished without a trace. Her car? Repossessed. She was back to driving a dusty old Civic she once mocked me for borrowing from my dad when we were dating. It was almost poetic. And yet, I didn't feel satisfaction. Not in the way I thought I would. I felt clean. Like after a long winter, the first warm breeze touches your face, and you suddenly remember what spring feels like. Amanda taught me a lot. About manipulation. About selfishness. But mostly, about the cost of ignoring red flags just because the dress they're wearing fits your fantasy. She messaged me one final time. I'll never forget it. Amanda, you're going to miss me one day. I stared at it, then deleted it. No reply. Because missing her would mean forgetting what peace feels like. And peace is priceless. The day the divorce finalized, I didn't pop champagne. I didn't throw a party or make some self-congratulatory post online. I just sat in the quiet of my kitchen with black coffee and a signed paper in front of me that simply read, Dissolution of marriage, finalized. 6 years reduced to 10 pages and a signature. I thought I'd feel something. Anger, maybe. Or relief. But what I felt was stillness. Like when a storm finally passes and all you hear is the distant sound of leaves brushing in the breeze. Amanda got what was fair. Nothing more, nothing less. She pushed for more until the very end. Claimed she'd invested her best years into me. Called me cold in court documents. But facts don't lie. And facts don't cry. And the facts were on my side. She walked in that courtroom with the same attitude she always wore. Entitled, theatrical, and desperate for a final performance. She even wore white. White. As if purity could be stitched into fabric. I barely looked at her. And Nathan? Nowhere to be found. The last I heard, he blocked her. Completely. Deleted his socials. Switched gyms. Rumor is he moved to Vegas for a fresh start. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. But then again, he walked into my life through the back door. He knew she was married. He just thought he was special enough to be the exception. Spoiler, he wasn't. After court, Amanda followed me to the parking lot. I could hear her heels behind me, sharp, rushed. Like she hadn't fully accepted that the script was over and I wasn't reading my lines anymore. Dylan, she said, please, can we just talk for a second? I didn't stop walking. I unlocked my car and got in. She knocked on the window. I rolled it down halfway. You really don't have anything to say to me? She asked. There was a tremble in her voice, not regret. Panic. I looked her dead in the eyes. I said everything I needed to say when I was still your husband. You just weren't listening. She blinked, stunned. I rolled the window back up and drove off. That night, I went home, opened a bottle of the scotch I'd been saving, and sat on my balcony. The city lights stretched for miles, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel haunted by anything. No shadows in the corners. No weight on my chest. Just air. Later, I took a walk through the old neighborhood. Passed by the cafe Amanda and I used to frequent, back when things were simpler. Before the filters. Before the lies. I saw a couple sitting at the same table we once shared, laughing over one slice of cake. I smiled. Not because I missed what we had, but because I finally understood what I deserved. Love doesn't feel like walking on eggshells. It doesn't gaslight you into guilt or make you beg to be seen. Real love doesn't parade itself online while crumbling in private. Real love shows up. Every day. Without drama. Without games. Amanda once told me, people either evolve together or drift apart. Turns out, she evolved into a stranger. And I evolved into someone stronger. Now when people ask what happened between us, I don't tell them about Nathan. Or the affair. Or the gaslighting. I just say, she taught me what to never settle for again. And that's the truth. Final reflection. If you're reading this and you're in a relationship that makes you feel small, uncertain, or invisible, listen to that voice in your gut. The one whispering this isn't love. Don't silence it. Don't bury it under excuses. You deserve peace. You deserve loyalty. You deserve to be chosen, without conditions. I didn't lose a wife. I lost a cage. And in the process, I found freedom.